Welcome to literary and jury charge practice. Let's start out with some jury charge. Ready? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I now turn to the second count. This alleges a specific stealing of goods and not merely a plan or conspiracy to steal them. The second account charges all four defendants with the specific crime of violation of Section 659 of Title 18 of the United States Code, a section of the Criminal Code. Section 2 of Title 18 of the United States Code provides in part as follows: whoever commits an offense against the United States or aids, abets, counsels, commands, induces, or produces its commission is punishable as a principal. In order to convict a defendant named in count 2, you must be satisfied that as to that defendant the government has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the following elements: that 1. On or about December 16, 1991, in the Southern District of New York, the defendant stole the contents of a motor truck, to wit 76 computers and 4 television sets. 2. The defendant acted unlawfully, willfully, and knowingly, and with intent to convert the truck's content to his own use. 3. The truck's contents were moving as or constituted an interstate shipment of freight or express at the time they were stolen. 4. The computers and television sets were a total value of in excess of $100. I instruct you that the Southern District of New York includes all of the borough of Manhattan. The first of the elements I have mentioned requires that the government prove that the defendant stole the computers and television sets. To steal means to acquire or to take possession of as a result of some wrongful act or taking of goods belonging to another with the intent to deprive the owner of the rights and benefits of ownership. You may find that the defendant stole the computers and television sets if you determine that they wrongfully obtained exclusive possession of the truck containing those goods, intending to deprive the rightful owner of possession of the goods. One has possession of something if he has the power to exercise control or dominion over it. The government need not prove that the defendants moved the truck or removed the goods from the truck. If you find that the defendants unlawfully deprived the lawful custodian of the computers and television sets of the power to exercise control or dominion over the goods and unlawfully acquired such power for themselves, then you may find that those goods were stolen. With regard to the second element of this count, I charge you that the phrase intent to convert to his own use means intent to apply or appropriate or use or sell the goods in question for the benefit of or profit of the person or persons unlawfully taking or possessing the goods as charged in the indictment. Unlawfully means contrary to law, so to do an act unlawfully means to do something which is contrary to law. With regard to the third element, the question whether the goods in question were moving as or were a part of an interstate shipment, I charge you that goods intended by a shipper to be shipped to another state become part of interstate commerce as soon as they have finally left the shipper's possession and come into the custody of someone who, without more than inevitable pauses, was to forward them upon the intended journey. Once placed in an interstate commerce, an article continues in interstate commerce until it reaches the point where the parties originally intended that its movement should finally end, even though it might have been destined to pause occasionally along the way. I further charge you that the shipping documents which the government has presented in evidence are prima facie evidence of the place from which and to which the shipment in question was made. Prima facie evidence means sufficient evidence unless outweighed by other evidence in the case which leads the jury to a different or contrary conclusion. Finally, you must decide whether or not the property involved was of value of more than $100. You are instructed that value in this context means cost price, either wholesale or retail, whichever is the greatest. Proof as to the value of the goods in this case may be found in the invoices which have been received in evidence. Let's see what we have. for some literary practice. This is called Antidotes to Autonomous Vehicles. Ready? Here we go. Akio Toyoda, president of Toyota, the parent company of Lexus, recently promised that Lexus and boring would never be used in the same sentence. True to his word, the just introduced LC luxury coupe has styling that's stunning. If looks could kill, the morgue would have to make room for this car's competitors. The LC's interior is so nice that you'll want to be wearing freshly pressed clothes when you slide behind the wheel. An example of Lexus's attention to detail, the upholstery is hand-sewn, even the hide covering the shift knob. The front seats are supremely supportive. Designers went through 50 iterations before they were satisfied, and the small rear seats are okay for kids or even adults in a pinch. Though modestly sized, the trunk will accommodate a set of golf clubs. A hybrid powertrain is available, but 90% of expected LC sales in the U.S. will have a normally aspirated 471 HP V8. Underpinning everything and the next generation LS sedan is a platform that's super stiff, benefiting both handling and crashworthiness. Despite extensive use of such weight-saving materials as aluminum and carbon fiber, the LC is hefty at some 4,300 pounds. Agility suffers a bit from the weight, and steering feel is on the heavy side. Never mind, the LC 500's acceleration is scalp-peelingly quick, 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.4 seconds. Overall handling is well balanced, and the big V8 makes a glorious howl. Boring, not on your life. The BRZ is a driver's car, pure and simple, no frou-frou here. You can't even order it with a navigation system. Updated 417, the BRZ, and its near twin, the Toyota 86, has everything it takes to provide maximum fun on 4 sticky contact patches. Steering from just the right amount of assist, quick turn in, good road feel, brakes you can count on to rapidly dial back forward momentum, a slick shifting manual transmission, a suspension that keeps the car pancake flat when rounding bends in the road, and thickly bolstered seats that hold you tight as you round those bends. Yes, the clutch releases suddenly, sometimes making smooth shifts challenging. Road and tire noise can be tiresome, and the ride is firm enough. The suspension does a good job of dampening uneven tarmac. But hey, this is a sports car. The interior is surprisingly well outfitted for a car at its price point, with top stitching on the dash and Alcantara seat surfaces. The 2 rear seats are tiny, but the back folds forward to greatly increase trunk space. The various controls are easy to locate and easy to use. Unusual for Subaru, the BRZ is motivated only by its rear wheels. Every other Subi model is all-wheel drive, and like Porsche, Subaru is a fan of horizontally opposed engines. The BRZ's flat 4 isn't big on horsepower, only 200, but that's mitigated by the car's light weight, just under 2,800 pounds. Nonetheless, the BRZ proves that driving fun isn't always about the most horsepower or the highest MSRP. Let's try a little bit of this. It's called Exceptions to Charge. So this is an attorney speaking about exceptions to the jury charge. Ready? Here we go. If the court please, the defendant respectfully notes and requests that the charges I should say submitted by defendant, namely 2, number 3, and number 4, were not in their form or complete substance given to this jury, and respectfully request that the court give such request, and in the alternative note my objection to the court's refusal to do so. The entire charge itself in form, substance, and sequence of charge was insufficient and redundant and confusing. Specifically, the defendant takes exception to that portion of the court's charge which it indicated to the jury that, as best as I can recall, if a verdict for the plaintiff could only be found if the jury found the defendant was in fact negligent, and that such negligence was a proximate cause of the accident. Subsequent to this portion of the court's charge, you went and defined negligence in its fullest sense and proximate cause biologically. Sequentially, this statement coming as it did at the outset, that all they need to do is find that the defendant or the tortfeasor was a contributing cause of the accident, is erroneous, since in this particular case there are no other persons that one claimant charges as being negligent. In this case, the issue is simply, was Mr. Mallon negligent and the proximate cause of the accident, or was Miss Jones negligent and the proximate cause of the accident? If one is a proximate cause, then we confuse the issue with regard to contributory negligence, so that when the court distinctly indicated on the record that all they need to do in order to find a verdict in favor of the plaintiff was to find that the defendant was in fact negligent and that the negligence was a proximate cause, is erroneous in this particular case. The court's attempt to generalize and indicate the gender male would cover all situations found itself used not consistently, but in the alternative, the court itself found it necessary at times to supplement the word he with she and the word claimant with counterclaimant. It would have been much clearer to this jury had the court, in lieu of using the expression he or she or claimant and counterclaimant, if the court had indicated to this jury that this was a situation involving a driver or a party in a claim of negligence against another driver, so that the expression of negligence, contributory negligence, would have applied to either or both parties. In this case, certainly there is a distinction even to a layman when the court uses at one time the expression party, at another time the expression claimant, at another time the expression counterclaimant, then another time the expression defendant. See what else we have for literary practice. This is called Mammoth Size Family Fun. Boating, hiking, and horseback riding in the Eastern Sierra. Ready? Here we go. I am not the outdoors type. I don't like camping. Too dirty. I get nervous when I think about hiking. Too much chance of encountering a scary wild animal. And I've never managed to get the hang of kayaking. Too wet and cold. My husband John and 10-year-old daughter Natalie are a lot like me, athletic but more partial to gyms, paved running trails, and manicured soccer fields than to unfettered nature. So why did I haul my family to Mammoth Lakes, that mecca for outdoor adventures, for a long summer weekend? I was asking myself that question when we dragged ourselves out of bed at 5 a.m. to start the 5-hour drive to the mountains. But once we'd passed through Lancaster and made our way onto State Route 14 and then U.S. Route 395, I started to remember. We encountered breathtaking vistas, from red rock formations to windswept green meadows to majestic mountains rising in the distance. When we stopped in Bishop to stretch our legs, the snap of the crisp, clean mountain air brought it all home. As stuck in our ways city dwellers, we needed this dose of nature. Buoyed by our hike, we decided to saddle up with Mammoth Lake's pack outfit, a stable that leads horse and mule trail rides in the summer. We opted for a horseback ride through the remains of the Consolidated Mine, where workers dug for gold between 1927 and 1933. As we lumbered along paths that double as cross-country skiing trails in the winter, we saw that what was left of the old bunkhouses and ore processing mill, interesting as they were no match for what we witnessed near the end of the trail, a doe standing in a sun-dappled clearing. Score another point for nature. $45 to $180 for pack rides. Age restrictions apply. 760-934-2434. Sun-dappled clearing. Consolidated Mine. Bunkhouses. All right, let's see what else we have here. This is a little story about the new Jaguar. Ready? Here we go. Jaguar's first small sedan is nearly a decade. The all-new XE joins its larger siblings, the XF and XJ, for 2017. There's no mistaking the family's resemblance. The XE looks like a smaller version of the other two, with handsome if somewhat generic lines. Inside, the XE eschews the English drawing room decor of previous Jag sedans for a modern, uncluttered design. Back seat room is tight, but the front seats are comfortable and offer good support for sporty driving. Indeed, sporty driving is the XE's forte, with any of three engine choices: a supercharged V6, a turbocharged inline 4, or a 4-cylinder diesel. Though the diesel produces only 180 HP, it makes huge torque, 318 foot-pounds, for quick launches and yields an impressive 42 miles per gallon on the highway. Moreover, diesel fuel is now less costly than the premium gas required by the other engines. The diesel's downside is that an anti-pollution additive must be replenished every 6,000 miles. A lightweight aluminum body shell and near 50-50 fore-aft weight distribution make the little Jag tossable and well balanced on a twisty road. The steering effort is light but has a natural feel. When fully optioned with the V6 and all-wheel drive, the XE's price can reach an eye-watering $60 large, though the rear-wheel drive base model is a reasonable $37,395. All XEs come with an especially generous 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty that includes free scheduled maintenance. Nobody except an Audi aficionado will notice the subtle changes to the 2017 A4's sheet metal, although nearly all of it has changed. As with the 4 generations of A4s that preceded it, the boxy styling of the latest A4 doesn't turn any heads. Instead, excitement lies beneath its skin. Fling the A4 into a sweeping curve, and it grabs the tarmac like a puppy with a tug toy. Its grip is uncanny, especially with the optional adaptive suspension. The steering is just right, not too heavy, not too light. Acceleration from the optional 252 HP turbo 4-cylinder engine and standard dual clutch 7-speed automatic can blur the trees. Yet despite such performance, the car is supremely quiet when cruising. Minimal road or engine noise enters the cabin, and the suspension manages to provide superlative handling with no sacrifice to ride comfort. In usual Audi fashion, the cabin features quality materials and impeccable fit and finish. The front seats are reasonably accommodating. The smallish rear seat less so. The A4 brims with gizmos, some driver distracting, Apple or Android phone interface, Wi-Fi hotspot, and others. Accident avoiding, adaptive cruise control can haul the car to a stop in traffic. Audi's innovative virtual cockpit, a digital display in front of the steering wheel, transitions from traditional instrument cluster to navigation map, making the information easy to see. The price tag with four-wheel drive and the standard 190 HP turbo 4-cylinder engine, the A4 starts at $35,850, but can jump to well over $50,000 with quattro all-wheel drive and extras. All right, and we will stop there. That will conclude our literary and jury charge practice.